we're going to have the keynote address given by Dr. Partha Bhattacharyya, and really appreciate you joining us today. Dr. Bhattacharyya, thank you for coming in, and looking forward to hearing your address about what is happening with digital health and age tech in the 21st century.
Thank you. Just give me a second. I think I should be able to get my screen up. And it is up.
Super.
And I should be able to share and take over. All right.
All right, there you go.
Great. You know, when I got the invitation, I reflected what I can talk about. And I thought of reflecting on the interaction between data and technology for older adults, because that's where my expertise lies. And the hype versus reality, and how all of you can make a difference in the short term or in the long term. So a disclosure that I have to give, because I'm a federal employee. This presentation was prepared in my personal capacity. The opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and do not reflect that of the view of my employer, National Institute on Aging, National Institute of Health, and the Department of Health and Human Services and the United States government. So the outline for today's talk, I'll go over the brief history, and I'll start with AI because it's talk of the town in everything that we are involved in. Applications of AI for older adults. We will go over diagnostic accuracy. We'll go over chronic management and healthcare delivery system and disparities. What are we doing? What is the national agenda? And I'll leave with some of my thoughts personally. But I want to start with the figure on the right. It came out of one of the studies we funded, right? We think about technology. We think about devices, such as the one I carry in my hand, and internet access. But we need to be very mindful that internet access, 4G, 5G access, LTE access, are not available to everyone. And this report nicely lays that out. Just keep that in mind, and I'll try to remind us, because disparities to access can mean whatever you create can never get to the person that you created. So it's an important part, and we need to be mindful of that. So when it comes to AI, we're going to, some say, a great hype cycle. And a very nice article was written by Hillary Putnam back in the days. It's actually 1950. And I highlighted out because there are a few things here: learning machines and digital computers. And there are a whole bunch of other things in the article content. But she asked a very simple question: what is all the fuss about? Right? Perhaps it is the prospect that exercises us, but why do we think now is the time to decide what might be, in principle, be possible? Right? I want you to keep this in mind, because sometimes we are promising, but can we keep up with the promise and deliver what many individuals need? And how can we serve their need? The AI applications for health, I'll start with diagnostic accuracy for cognition, and again, health delivery systems for cognition and what we are doing. And these are examples of what we could have done or what we could be doing, and with timeline to talk about hype cycles, right? And the delivery of the hype cycle versus the reality and how it occurs. So I'll try to paint a picture where I'm trying to be very realistic of what we can do and what is in the pipeline. I'll touch on chronic care management. In America, older adults, individuals in their midlife, suffer from multiple comorbidities. They need care. Right? What type of bias, ethics, and role of behavioral economics can play to mitigate some of those risks? And again, there's a very nice reading. It's from national academies that gets at this. It's the artificial intelligence application for older adults with people with disabilities. balancing safety and autonomy, we need to really think about individuals that cannot do much, that do not have control. How do we design systems that can help? So let's start with diagnostic accuracy. And again, this is not, I'll not say an exercise I did to pick on studies, but to depict the areas that we support in our portfolio, and specifically in my portfolio at NIA. Misdiagnosis of dementia in primary care is prevalent in America. It's well established. If you go back to the literature, I went back, I could go back to 1980s, actually. But I saw early signs of using speech protocol to detect early stages of dementia. That's by IBM in 2013. Again, it comes back around IBM in 2020. And now we actually see voice assistants, which developed over the years, really take a dive into this early detection of cognitive decline and how you can predict cognitive. Look at the timeline here. This I will call the hype cycle. The reality is kicking in. The devices are becoming available. And now we may be able to do something, right? I say may because work is yet to be done. And that's 2020, work is ongoing. So as we go over Gartner's pictures, right? If you were looking at this from 2013, you'd be like, wow, we're in the cutting edge. We can solve this problem today, right? And as we come back here, right, we're coming into the chatbot arenas of this, of what is really coming up now, ChatGPT and others, right? We can really integrate these features as reminder tools, maybe in our speakers tomorrow, and really get things going, right? So maybe, you know, in another 3 years of time, you're going to get some products out there that can really help older adults. And this diagnosis accuracy plays an important role because often we do not diagnose people. And I'll get into that next and show you some data. So in our case, we held a meeting in 2017. Right? We funded work using electronic medical records that highlighted, yes, we can indeed use, you know, EMR data to predict cognitive impairment early, actually in diverse populations. That's the biggest benefit one can get out of this. Not only early diagnosis, but you get it across. Then we had the publication, which is the validation exercise, that yes, indeed, EHR data can be used. Fast forward now, what do we know? There's lack of brief, reliable, validated screening tools for detecting cognitive impairment. There are no medicines out there in the pipeline. There are many in the pipeline, but no medicine out there. Magic cure, I call it. And it's often undiagnosed, but what you see, whether you're non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, or Hispanic, the numbers go up of not being diagnosed, right? But critically important, over 40%, depending on who you are, even if you're white, not diagnosed. If you're black, the number goes up. If you're Hispanic, the number even goes up higher. Okay? So we prepared this program to address what we call receiving the dementia diagnosis pretty late in the game, right? Look at these numbers. There's 3 years plus, closing in on 3 years plus, depending on who you are across the board, right? And can we do better? And can we do better when the hype cycle is over and address it? And how do we address it on a national scale? So we started this program called Low-Cause Detection of Cognitive Impairment in Clinical Settings. It takes a number of cognitive, well-validated measures and tries to launch it in EHR settings. Some require development work, other validation, right? And the idea here is to incorporate that in annual wellness visits, right? You heard about Medicare reimbursement in some of the pitches, right? Here is one avenue where tools can be created which can be reimbursed. They also have to be pragmatic in nature, right? And tools and developments of these interventions must address diversity, disparities in diagnosis, right? I already showed you the number, but we raised the bar for this program. We said, we would like you to replicate this within the funding period to get better results faster. And if they stick, it can be scaled and we can make it available to older. So if you go through that hype cycle now, right? 2017, when we funded a grant, which produced the result, right? And now these programs are getting launched and they're completing the first phases of clinical trials. And we get the statement, can Alexa help doctors detect onset of dementia as part of news release? This is critically important. Like, yes, we do see the hype, but there's a time lapse when the actual applications can come in. And for these examples that I've talked, we have yet to see action, right? That means the products are going to come out, and hopefully in the near future. Chronic care management and bias. And from Nature, there was a very nice article published in 2019, which highlighted millions of Blacks are affected by racial bias in algorithms. And when you dissect why biases occurs, right? We need to think carefully why and who are creating these algorithms. So in this case, what you've seen, when the algorithm was created, right, it was used to maximize for a health cost. So the benefits to the insurers, that's how most of algorithms are created. But when it was corrected, right, we could correct the course. That was the beauty of this paper. When the bias was corrected, right, for health needs, individuals that are Black can and could get the right care. And this begs the question, can we use behavioral science and AI to meet the needs of patients and providers across the board? There have been a number of articles written, and we started quite a few programs in that area. You have the data from electronic medical records, right? And you can use various types of nudges, behavioral economics techniques, whether it's public commitment. This is a letter that one doctor can post in their office not to prescribe antibiotics. Socially motivated performance report. This is performance reporting for my Pepco bill, where it shows 1 month I was great, another month I was good. But this type of innovation has been prevalent since 1984. And yet we have to integrate in our electronic medical records system or electronic health record. Accountable justification, asking a doctor why someone needs certain medicine. So, as you know, antibiotics use has been rising over time, right? What can we do about it? If someone doesn't need antibiotics at a certain time of the day, can we actually help them? And then defaults. Defaults have shown to get uptake of generic equivalents. That means a patient who has to pay $50 for their copay or brand name may be able to pay $10, right? And really actually help. There's no changes in health outcomes when they take generic. That was the key point. So we initiated this program. Again, it started in 2017, almost. It's focused on choosing wisely programs. And this is guideline concordant care that individuals should be getting and implementing them in EHR. And then other recommendations from American geriatric healthcare professionals as well. And then we initiated another program in 2019, which takes up US preventive task force. All of this gets at a simple thing, is improving healthcare delivery of the most simplest thing. It's not going to do surgery for you, but giving people the right type of care that they need. So what else are we doing? Since this is talk about HIT and AI, I thought we'll talk about our programs that we have created, and many of you may be able to take advantage of it. We created our Artificial Intelligence and Technology Collaborative program, which runs through 3 institutions, Hopkins, Mass, AI and Technology Centers, UPenn, and our coordinating center is coordinated by Rose Lee and Associates. These are grants that we give out to competition, about $200,000 in non-dilutive direct cost to be expended over 12 months. And we are challenging researchers and asking them to transform care delivery for older adults. We are challenging them to make healthcare better. And here's the example of first round of winners. And you see a lot of logos. It's on purpose to show you that it's a broad balance. This is just not an academic pilot program we are running, but we are running it across the United States, which is open for startups to academics to partake and to improve healthcare delivery for older adults.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. Just give me 2 minutes. The blueprint for AI Bill and Rights, I'm just going to close on the end to say, talk about some of the resources that you really need to think about. This just came out in October, but think about creating safe and effective systems. Right? Think about discrimination protection. I touched on that. Think about data privacy, right? It's not just about data and taking the data. How do you get the data from an individual who is cognitively impaired? And how do you do it in the most appropriate and ethical way? Think about that, because older adults struggle. Explaining is another issue, and alternatives and fallbacks need to be considered. And this is very well articulated in the AI Bill of Rights that you can go over. There's also a National AI Resource Task Force report, and which calls for enabling new modalities of research, expanding and strengthening our capacity in the United States for AI R&D. And it calls for development for resources, which I just talked about that we started. But last, I don't want to remiss the point on trustworthiness. As you work on AI, as you work with technology, you need to be very mindful, right? As with any powerful and complex tool, AI comes with risk. So please watch out for the consequences. So I'll end with my thoughts. There are a bunch of reports that you can pick out of. And I think the NIST risk management framework can potentially help many of you. The artificial intelligence in healthcare is highlighting how technologies be created for medical diagnostics, right? But I use few words here, responsibility, right? And what do I mean by that? As we move into the future that is increasingly defined by AI and technology, it is important that we remember our responsibility to use these tools in a well-fashioned way. Let's work together to create a world where everyone can benefit from this incredible power of these innovations, right? This brings the next point on equity and access, which I started. I hope today's talk has given you a glimpse of incredible potential, but also what we can do, what you can do, right, to make the future brighter. Efficiency. We live in this world that is changing faster than ever before with computational power. And as we embrace these technology and AI, we can create a better future that is more efficient, more sustainable, and just. And we have to be creative about being just, watchful about being just, and trying to do the justice. The most important part of AI and technology, in my opinion, is not the technology itself or the creator, but the people who use it. It is up to us, you, me, and others who are in these privileged positions to ensure that these tools are not used in ways just for select few, but benefits all. Not just the select few, I repeat, but benefits all. Let's rise to that challenge together. right? And I conclude by saying AI has the potential on my hype wood. AI has the potential to be one of the most transformative technologies of our time, because now we have computational capacity that we didn't have in 1950s, 80s, 90s. We have it now, but we must ensure that hype surrounding it just doesn't blind us to the real challenges we face in making things equitable and meaningful for everyone. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. A phenomenal talk and greatly appreciated. Amongst this audience of people around the world who are tuning in and listening, a loud round of virtual applause, please, for Dr. Bhattacharya.